Something really big happened in Los Angeles that shocked everyone. It was like a movie, but it was real life. On July 29, 2025, police officers and special agents suddenly showed up all over the city. They weren't there for a normal arrest. They were hunting down some very bad people who had been hiding in plain sight. These weren't just regular criminals. They were part of a huge secret group that included people from Mexico and China working together. Think of it like a spider web that stretched across many cities. The police had been watching them for a long time, waiting for the right moment to catch them. The arrests happened in neighborhoods where lots of people live normal lives. Places like Monterey Park and Fontana became like action movie scenes. In Monterey Park, police surrounded a man right outside a grocery store where families shop every day. People walking by couldn't believe what they were seeing. In Fontana, it got even more dramatic. Police chased a suspect through the streets where kids play and families live. The chase ended when they caught the man right outside his own house. But here's the really scary part. These bad guys weren't just selling drugs like you might think. They were doing much worse things. They were forcing people to work against their will, stealing money in tricky ways, and running secret gambling places where people lost all their money. The police knew they were dealing with something much bigger than they first thought. These criminals were really smart about hiding what they were doing. They used regular businesses like massage places and nightclubs as covers. From the outside, these places looked totally normal. People would walk by every day and never guess what was really happening inside. But behind closed doors, these places were headquarters for really bad activities. The police weren't just working in Los Angeles. They had teams in different cities all talking to each other and sharing information. It was like putting together a giant puzzle where each piece was in a different state. They collected videos, papers, and lots of evidence to understand how big this criminal group really was. What made this group so dangerous was how they mixed people from different countries. The Mexican part of the group was really good at getting drugs, like a dangerous substance called fentanyl. The Chinese part was really good at hiding money and making fake documents. When they worked together, they became much more powerful and harder to catch. Then, something amazing happened on July 19, 2025. The police found a secret nightclub hidden inside what looked like a boring office building. From the outside, you would never guess what was inside. The windows were dark, and hardly anyone ever went in or out. But when the police finally got inside, they couldn't believe their eyes. Inside this fake office building was a fancy nightclub with flashing lights, loud music, and expensive furniture. It looked like the kind of place rich people would go to have fun. But the police quickly realized this wasn't a normal party place. They found piles of illegal drugs, machines for fake gambling, fake credit cards, and evidence that people were being forced to work there against their will. This secret nightclub was like the headquarters for all the bad activities. The Mexican criminals brought the drugs, and the Chinese criminals ran the place and handled all the money. They worked together like a well-oiled machine, making it really hard for police to figure out who was in charge of what.
The criminals were also really good at making fake money and credit cards. The police found lots of evidence showing they were stealing people's identities and using fake financial papers. This wasn't just street crime anymore. These people had built a business empire based on breaking the law. But the story doesn't end in Los Angeles. The very next day, July 30th, 2025, police in Louisiana made their own big discovery. In East Baton Rouge, they raided 2 massage parlors that looked like normal businesses where people go to relax. But these places were actually fronts for really horrible activities. The people running these massage parlors were also from China, just like some of the criminals in Los Angeles. They were forcing women to work there against their will. These women often couldn't speak English well and had been tricked into coming to America with false promises of good jobs. When they arrived, their passports were taken away and they were threatened with violence if they tried to leave. The police found that these massage parlors didn't even follow basic safety rules. They didn't have fire extinguishers or proper licenses. This showed how little the criminals cared about the people they were forcing to work there. If there had been an emergency, people could have been seriously hurt or killed. One of the most shocking discoveries was a fake driver's license operation in New York. In a place called Flushing, Queens, criminals were running what looked like a normal driving school. But instead of actually teaching people to drive, they were selling fake driver's licenses for between $1,600 and $2,000 each. Here's how their trick worked. People who couldn't legally get driver's licenses would pay this huge amount of money. The criminals would either fake the test results or pay off workers at the Department of Motor Vehicles to make sure their customers got licenses without ever taking a real test. Many of these fake licenses went to people from China who couldn't speak English well and didn't understand the American system. The police think more than 2,000 fake licenses were made through this scheme. That's like giving fake IDs to everyone in a small town. These fake licenses weren't just used for driving. People used them to open bank accounts, rent apartments, and even commit more crimes. In one scary example, someone with a fake license caused a 5-car accident in Brooklyn. Video showed this person failing their driving test, but on paper, they had a perfect score. As the investigation continued, police realized this criminal network had spread to many states, including New York, Pennsylvania, and Alabama. They arrested at least 14 people who were involved in different parts of the operation. Some ran the fake driving schools, others worked at the Department of Motor Vehicles and helped create the fake licenses. One really alarming thing the police discovered was that the number of Chinese people illegally crossing the border from Mexico had increased by 8,000% since 2021. That means if 100 people were crossing before, now 8,000 were crossing. Many of these people were being forced to work for the criminal organizations once they got to America. Cities with lots of Chinese immigrants like Monterey Park in California became centers for these criminal activities. What used to be safe, busy neighborhoods where families lived and worked became places where people were afraid to go out at night. Local businesses started losing customers because people were scared to shop in areas where they knew criminals were operating. The government's response was to get much tougher on immigration. They started using information from medical records, home addresses, and other personal data to find people who were in the country illegally and might be connected to these criminal groups. This made many immigrant families worried, even those who weren't doing anything wrong. The big problem is that many people who get caught up in these criminal networks didn't want to be involved in the first place. They came to America hoping for better lives for their families. But once they got here, they found themselves trapped by criminals who threatened them and their loved ones back home. This whole situation shows how complicated fighting crime can be. The criminals are smart and organized. They use normal-looking businesses to hide their illegal activities. They work across different states and even different countries, and they take advantage of people who are just trying to build better lives for themselves and their families. The fight against these criminal networks is still going on. Police and government agents are working hard to catch all the bad guys and shut down their operations. But it's like playing whack-a-mole. When they shut down one operation, the criminals try to start up somewhere else.